Okay, I didn't finish saying that I was going to stop it. What I was saying was that I'm going to stop it before it shuts off, because I'm trying to be more of an adult and be proactive as opposed to reactive. But it shut off, so I waited too long. So I need to continue to work on being a grown-up so that I'm a little bit more proactive. Okay, so white people owe black people, Glenn Money, and some other guy from the Gaza, people that think they're really smart, and, it's obviously not the case. I mean, they're obviously not very smart at all. They're good at regurgitating things that they hear other people say, but in terms of like actually being able to put together coherent, original thoughts, which to me is what being smart is. Okay, being smart is not regurgitating things other people say. That doesn't, I mean, how does that have anything at all to do with being smart? That's, you're just a trained monkey, a monkey can do that, right? Or a parrot. So a monkey can't say things, but you know what I'm trying to say. A monkey can be trained to repeat sequences of behaviors and tasks, right? A parrot can be trained to say things, no. Regurgitating, no. So, or to be able to disassemble things that other people say that are suspect, that need to be disassembled. Or maybe you just disassemble everything, in the realm of ideas, because you want to make sure it doesn't need to be disassembled. You want to test it, right? You want to test the integrity of an idea. So you disassemble it and see. Because it's an idea. It's in the ether. It's fungible. I mean, there's no harm in disassemble. That's the beauty of ideas. And that's why we should fight in the realm of ideas. Because if you tear apart an idea, nobody gets hurt. It's just an idea. Somebody else can come along and say, no, you're wrong. And, your disassembly is null and invalidated. It's nullified. It's invalidated because they came around and demonstrated that, hey, no, this, look, you're wrong. This is fine because of this. And you're like, okay, fine, whatever. So it's instantly put back together, right? That's why we should fight in the realm of ideas. And that's why people should not try to silence other people. Like Glenn Money tries to silence me, for example, by getting up and saying that people being critical of him, a public figure, is evil. I'm just sitting in my chair like laughing to myself. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is unbelievable. It's like I just stepped into the novel 1984. It's like I wish George Orwell was sitting right here with me so he could hear this. He would get a kick out of it too, And it's funny because Glenn Money is inconsequential. It's not funny when we allow this notion to persist. And like a cancer and like a virus, it spreads. And it spreads over to people who are not inconsequential, right? And it spreads over to people who have the actual, literal, real world power to silence people. That's why it's important for little people like me, also inconsequential. It's important for little people to be willing, ready, able, on our toes, on the edge of our chairs, to stand up, right? And to protest when bad ideas are presented. Because when bad ideas are allowed to stand without contest, like I said, they're like a cancer. Eventually they spread to somewhere where they matter, or where it matters. The fact that they spread there, that it matters. This is an evil. Speaking of evil. Oh, I could talk for an hour about that. This is evil. To say that somebody expressing their opinion is evil. That's evil. That is evil. Glenn Money's a very nice man. It's a beautiful family. I like the man. Okay? But when he said that, that was an expression of pure evil. It's also an expression of pure evil to say that white people owe black people something. Like a white baby. I have 9 grandchildren, right? And ironically enough, Glenn Money might be very shocked to hear this, but all of my grandchildren are white, right? So what he and his little friend, and I want to put asterisks around the word little, he and his little friend from the Gaza Strip are saying to me is that my grandchildren are born with a stigma over their head because of the color of their skin. That is an expression of pure, black, filthy, stinking evil. That is evil. And that is nothing other than racist. That is racism exemplified. To stand there and say the color of somebody's skin determines what they owe somebody else. That is pure evil. That is pure evil, racism exemplified. There is no question in my mind about that. And it's like, to me, it's like a used car salesman trying to sell somebody a car on one side of the building. And the guy says, I don't like this car. So the car salesman says, oh, no problem, I have another car on the other side of the building. Right? And they start going over to the other side of the building. But the used car salesman has an assistant. And that assistant runs and grabs that car and races around to the other side of the building and backs it into the parking spot. Right? And then disappears very quickly. And they come out the other side of the building and the guy says, look at this beauty I have right here. Well, it's the same car. It's just backed into the parking spot instead of pulled in nose first, right? So the used car salesman is trying to tell the prospective customer that it's not the same car because he thinks he's really slick and he thinks he's really smart and he thinks maybe because I backed the car into the spot instead of driving in nose first and we're also on the other side of the building, maybe the guy won't notice that it's the same car. That's what it's like. Oh, I'm not racist against black people. I'm racist against white people, and I'm white. Therefore, you're not going to notice that I'm promoting racism because I change a little bit. You know, I rearranged a couple things. So now nobody's going to notice that I'm a racist. No, you're for the duration of the time that you're promoting this I don't want to say idiotic because, like I said, stupidity and idiocy does not sufficiently capture the depth and the degree of intellectual depravity of this pure evil notion that you can look at the color of a people's skin and determine their character. That you can look at the color of a person's skin and determine whether or not they owe somebody else something. That's pure evil, man. That's pure evil. So idiotic and stupid just does not suffice. Like I said, that only takes you like 1/10 of the way there. So that's what it's like. It's like these used cars. There's another analogy to sales too, because I've had experience in sales. There's a principle in sales. It's called the second voice. All right, and I practiced this because it was part of my job, and I was selling over the phone. Well, you try to close the sale. They don't want to close the sale. It's called the second voice. They say, okay, ma'am, or sir, if you don't mind, I appreciate the time you spent with me, and I understand you're not interested in our service. But just to wrap this up, I just would like for you to talk to my supervisor really quick. And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. But anyway, for the ones that say yes, they say yes. So it's a second voice. In a certain number of cases, a second voice can do what a first voice can't do simply because it's a second voice. Because two voices have more authority than one voice. And so maybe you weren't able to close the deal, but you took it 60% or 80% there or 90% there, and then the second voice comes in, and in the first 60 seconds, he closes the sale, right? It's called second voice. They do that in sales. From my perspective, where I sit, Glenn Money brings in his little friend from the Gaza Strip, second voice. They're trying to sell this racism. This racism with a little couple pieces rearranged You know, it's like, well, we're not white people racist against black people. We're white people racist against white people. Oh, and we're gonna back it up and turn it around and mix it up a little bit, and nobody's gonna notice that what we're selling up here is racism. It's like, no, dude. We know, we can tell it's racism. Sorry, but it's racism. You know, I mean, you judging the content of people's character on the basis of the color of their skin. You're determining who owes who what on the basis of their color. It's like, have you lost your mind? Okay, so I mean, it's super diabolical. But it's not. That's not even the entirety of it. Like I said, you could talk about why it's diabolical. You could talk about it for years. Why it's so diabolical. But I'll close it up with this one more observation. Like I said, it's always been the elite against the elite. And the elite will get in and they'll use religion, they'll use race, they'll use, national identity. They'll use anything to stir up tensions. They'll use any any form of leverage they can get their hands on to stir something up. And then instead of taking responsibility for it themselves, they'll blame the thing that they used as leverage, right? It's kind of similar to, I can't remember the name of the movie. It's a great movie, though. It was Tom Cruise, and he was an assassin. And somebody said, why did you kill that person? He said, I didn't kill him. He said, well, I just saw you shoot the man. He goes, but I didn't kill him. The bullet killed him, right? Except it wasn't even the bullet. It was the ground when the guy fell out of the window after the bullet pushed him out the window and he hit the ground. So it's the same principle, right? It's not us. It's the fact that the Hutus don't like the what giant war was that in Africa back in the 80s? The Hutus and like 500,000 people were hacked to death with machetes. You know, it's not us. It's the fact that the Hutus don't like the such and such. No, it was the elites manipulating. Somebody gains something from every conflict. In the Western world right now, it's the corporations, it's the CEOs, and they bribe and pay and manipulate and blackmail and whatever they got to do, the politicians, to get the things rolling. But in other times, in other cultures, it's been different people under different types of systems. But the principle is always the same. Somebody always is gaining something, from some war. Somebody's gaining money, privilege, property, resources. Sometimes it's over like a queen, Sometimes at the fight wars, but somebody's gaining something, right? And they're always looking for somebody to blame. Like I said, it's always like Adam and Eve, and they go, "It's not me, it's you. It's that woman you put here with me." That's exactly what Adam told God when God said, "Why did you do this?" Adam blamed Eve and God. It's hilarious, really. Read it sometime. Genesis chapter 3, if I'm not mistaken. It's hilarious. But and I mean, it's just a repeat. It's a thing that gets repeated a million times a day. So that's what it is. Now, there have been atrocities committed in the name of racism. But like I said, it's always in the name of racism. What's really going on is some rich dude is using racism as leverage to sick these 300,000 people on these 100,000 people, or these 50,000 people on these 500. It's people manipulating people to get what they want done. You heard all the hubbub and the slobbering praise and worship for Al Gore and Bill Clinton for the fact that they were Rhodes Scholars. Cecil B. Rhodes was an evil man. The Rhodes Scholar guy. Cecil B. Rhodes. I think it was Cecil B. Rhodes. I think I got that right. I mean, he's the head or the founder of the De Beers Diamond. I mean, he killed more people than Adolf Hitler, and they were all black. I mean, you want to call that racism? Maybe it was. Maybe. But I mean, he was also building an empire, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know all the story behind it, but it's just crazy. I mean, you're going to praise these people for being scholars that are named after a murdering, lunatic, racist madman like Cecil B. Rhodes? That's crazy. And then these people are supposedly the champions of racial equality? No, I mean, that's just like, That's insanity, right? I mean, that's another abyss. It's like, no, evil doesn't even really capture the depth of the depravity of that, right? I mean, if somebody presented me with the opportunity to be a Rhodes Scholar, I'd be like, forget that, you know? Take that and shove it where the sun don't shine, as my mother would say. You know, I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want the word Rhodes associated with my name or the name at all, ever, anywhere, within any context, any degree, within, you know, any degree of separation. Never, you know? But people are just slobbering all over themselves whenever they meet a Rhodes Scholar. It's like, have you lost your minds? Have you lost your collective minds? You know? So, I mean, things do happen, right? But the greatest atrocities in the 20th century has been the elite, and probably all of humanity, have been the elite against the poor. It's always the elite against the poor. And in this case, it's the communism. It's the communist elite. The people that control billions and billions and billions and trillions even of quote-unquote community wealth, right? It's the people that control all that quote community wealth, murdering like hundreds of millions of other people. And yet, Glenn Money isn't going to get up there and protest communism or protest socialism or protest forms of government that put 80% or 90% or 95 or 98% of all the wealth of an entire nation into the hands of 2% of the people, when 200 million people or 150 million people in the 20th century were murdered under these types of arrangements. No, he's going to get up there and belie and decry white people. It's like it's insane, man. That is just pure insanity. It's abyss. It's an abyss is what it is. And like I said, it's diabolical. And I don't know any way. I don't know. I think abyss captures it pretty well. Maybe not totally sufficiently, but I think it captures it pretty well. Abyss is pretty good. Diabolical is pretty good, because diabolical is like super evil. You know? I mean, to try to promote this ideology that the color of a person's skin is a determination of the content of their character, or the color of a person's skin is a like a like a sign of a debt that they owe somebody else. You know, like a little baby, like a little 1-week-old baby. Oh, what color is their skin? Oh, well, they owe that, you know, as soon as they become of age, well, they can earn wages. Well, they're going to owe those people over there because they have a different color. What is that? You know, that to me, that's like a sign of mental instability. I mean, to put it another way, I'll even take it to another level. To me, that is mentally unstable. In addition to being diabolical, and in addition to being a green mist covered stinking abyss, I also happen to think it's mentally unstable. So this is the only video I can think of tonight that I have on my mind. Is just to kind of put some underpinning to that kind of outrageous claim that I made several weeks, maybe a couple months, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months, I don't know how long ago it was. I lose track of time. Time doesn't really mean anything to me. It's quality that matters, and quality is timeless as far as I'm concerned, so I don't really worry about time too much. It drives people crazy, but it's the way I am, so it kind of drives me crazy too from time to time, to be honest, but it is what it is. Yeah, man. It's been a while since I made that claim, but this is, for me, this is kind of the underpinning support doctrine, supporting ideology for my outrageous claim that for Glenn Money to talk about the color of people's skin being the determination of the content of their character or what they owe other, you know, it's just insane. I mean, and you go back, this thing just goes on and on and on. I mean, the American Indians practiced slavery. They enslaved each other. The first slave owner in America was a black guy, reportedly. I'm not a historian, you know, and frankly, I don't care what historians say because they all have their bias. You get 10 historians in a room, and you're going to get 3 groups. They're going to break up into 3 groups. Those 3 groups are going to fight with each other. You know, that's just the way it is. But Again, purportedly, the first slave owner in America was a black guy. Black people owned slaves. American Indians owned black slaves. You know, white people owned slaves. We traded with Arab slave traders in order to get our slaves. We traded with black African people, what do you call them? Like warlords, not warlords, but tribal chiefs and stuff like that. In order to get, I mean, come on, man. Seriously? You know, this is like, how much of insult to our intelligence do you expect us to take without protesting? And I'll say this to Glenn, I'll say this to the entire leadership of the church. How much insult to our intelligence do you really expect us to take? How many times are you going to insult our intelligence before your insult, your persistent, stubborn, profane insult becomes, how would you say, it becomes like a sin, you know? It becomes like an open, oozing sore on the church, you know? How much are we supposed to take, you know? I mean, I compared what the insult to our intelligence that you give us, Glenn Money, to the insult that Tim Whipple gave us with his silly little demonstration of the Trinity being like ice, water, and steam, and wearing protective glasses to protect his face from the water. I mean, that's just buffoonery. Okay, that's just buffoonery. Maybe that was an honest effort, but it was just buffoonery, you know? And people need to be held account for buffoonery also. But this is not buffoonery. This is diabolical. This is an abomination. You know, and frankly, I don't think anybody should be forced to be subjected to this. I mean, this is absurdity. I mean, there's just no way, man. This is ridiculous. You need to get yourself together. This is crazy. This is like mentally unstable craziness. Okay, so that's it. God bless everybody. Bye.